Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Supernatural episode 1509 titled The Trap, which premiered Thursday, January 16th, 2020 on the CW. Happy New Year, guys, if you only watch my Supernatural videos. Otherwise, this would be my second video I'm recording in the new year slash new decade. So again, huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the new episode already, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. It's definitely it's not a filler episode. That is for damn sure. So please go check that out first. Otherwise, my other video reminders are up on screen. So take a moment to remind yourselves of those. The hope is to have this done in 15 minutes. So fingers crossed. But this is a really good episode to talk about. So I'm going to start the clock and let's begin with what happened in 1509. So timeline wise, it's pretty much 2 hours since the ending of 1508, because as you remember, at the end of 1508, Michael opened up the Purgatory Rift, and he said that there was a 12-hour window that it was going to be left open. And by the time, well, I guess by the time that Dean and Cass go into Purgatory and Dean sees his clock, it's about like 10 hours left of the rift being open. So either within those 2 hours, it's literally the gap between the episode, or it took 2 hours of that prep time we saw of Dean and Cass preparing for that trip. So it's really dependent on that, but it's still within 24 hours of where 1508 had left off. Now, the episode reminder, I'm going to say not only the fact that the title itself says it's a trap, there's many inferences that it's referring to, but also just the idea of maybe something happening is a trap in itself. But a lot of the takeaway I'm going to take for this is the fact that we are given an idea of what the world will be like without Chuck or without God. So there's that. Now, I know like beforehand, before we found out that Chuck was really God, you could essentially argue that we were already in a world without God, but this was more of like if he was taken completely out of the picture and he was like no influence on the world and such. So there's that, which we'll get right into the story breakdowns, or the episode's storylines, if you will, which is the first one having to deal with the future is dark, which is in reference to a world without Chuck. And the second one is dealing with the trip to Purgatory. So with the first story in particular, this is probably Sam's storyline for the episode. And we see, in order for Chuck to break the hope that Sam still has, which allows him to still be defiant against him, Chuck shows Sam what the future would be like if they did manage to kill or detain or contain Chuck as God. And by showing him all these key future moments, this has, from the looks of it, withered down Sam's hope to the point where the hope that was tethering the wound between them got healed, and now Chuck is now fully restored, and Sam is not burdened by what that equalizer wound was doing to him. So that's a little bit of a bad thing for Team Free Will. So I will touch upon it a little more in a few moments, so just hang tight. Now, with the Purgatory storyline, we get Dean and Cass traveling to Purgatory to get the Leviathan Blossom. We find out that it is a flower. They don't refer to it as a flower, but it is a flower that grows from the rotting corpse of the Leviathans. So apparently they can die, but it takes a very long time for their body to decompose to the point of where the blossom could grow within it. And it's some big, ugly flower thing. It looks like, it kind of reminded me of a Venus flytrap. Like, it's not like some fancy looking flower. It looks like a flower with teeth on it. So there's that. Or it's one of those mutant flowers that you would see in like the alien sci-fi movies. So there's that. They managed to grab it and they managed to get back before the rift closes. They were like really cutting it close there too as well. So I guess you can say that the episode itself kind of will span at least 10 hours, or over the course of 10 hours. So there's that. Now, the last scene of the episode is very, very brief, and it is in the empty, where we see Billy telling Jack that it is time, or it's time. Time for what? No idea, as it cuts straight to black from that. Time to enact the plan, time for him to return, time for him to make a move. I don't know. But finally, since we haven't seen both of them since the season 14 premiere, so that's been a while. I mean, yes, we've seen Alex in the first 3 episodes of the season when he was playing Belphegor, but we haven't seen Jack since the season finale after his death. So it's great to see him again, even briefly, just to at least be reminded about, like, hey, this is still an option here. Now let's go from there. Now, tidbits for the episode, though. So we do find out that those visions that Sam was having, where it was Sam, brother versus brother, Sam versus Dean, Winchester versus Winchester, however you want to put it, where they thought like those were all the potential futures or endings that Chuck was going for. We find out that those weren't potential futures for them, but they were actually memories that Chuck had of other Sams and other Deans of other worlds. So on one world, there was a demon Sam. On one world, there is a version of Dean that's succumbed to the mark of Cain and became a demon. There was a world where Sam allowed Lucifer to possess him. Like, it's all these things. Like, initially, I will talk about a little bit more, but initially the brothers, rightfully so, thought that those were all potential futures because essentially they all were at that starting point of each possibility. But to find out that it actually was a reality for another set of Winchesters was quite something as well, too. So that's something there, which I will talk about later on. Another tidbit was the fact that Dean tells Chuck to go back to Earth 2 and play with his toys there. Specifically this is when he reveals to them that it's not potential futures I planned for you, but they're memories of what has already happened with other versions of you. And then Dean just tells him to go back to Earth 2. Why I'm loving this is not only the fact that the way he phrases it and stands up to Chuck, but also because this week, since the episode aired January 14th, or January 16th, January 14th was the conclusion of the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, which is known for its multiverse. So the fact, Supernatural has its own multiverse and everything, but the fact that he phrases it just like, because like with Supernatural, they say Apocalypse World. They have other actual official names for these other worlds, but with the Arrowverse, they go by numbers. So Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 38, Earth 19, and all that. So the fact that Dean says Earth 2, during the week where the crossover just like ended, it was just like more of like, damn, that's good timing, and also the fact that, damn, I wish you were part of that crossover, essentially. So that's a little something there that's like just a fun tidbit as well. We also see Dean apologizing to Cass for the huge bit of the tension that they had since Mary's death at the tail end of season 14. We also see Elaine leaving the bunker, but not before Sam kisses her before she goes. So that's something there. But moving on to end tally or death tally, I don't actually recall like a permanent death in this episode. I mean, yes, we do find out in this episode that Benny was killed a long time ago, since Dean kind of hoped that he would see him now that they were in purgatory. He even said that, oh, he's probably running this place now, but only to find out that he was actually killed off by the vampires because they didn't trust him a long time ago. And Benny went back to purgatory in season 8. So technically that's a death that we just found out, but it's not one we actually see on screen. I mean, and then there was also the purgatory corpses all around, but those weren't kills done on screen. And then there's the purgatory leviathans that Dean and Cass were facing, but I don't think they killed any of them on screen. So I don't think there's an actual death that we saw in this episode. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure we didn't actually see any of them kill anyone on screen or have anyone be killed on screen, whether by their hands or not. Though I'm not counting the visions where we do get the implication of future deaths of either Claire and all the others, or we saw Jody dying on screen, we saw Sam dying on screen. It's implied that Dean was probably killed too, but we don't see that. So I'm not counting that. Plus, it's also part of those future visions where I'm still questioning it. I'm not going to count that because they're not facts at this point. They're like inferences, or they're possibilities still. So I'll leave it at that. But most shocking moment of the episode, I will have to say, is the fact that we apparently, according to Chuck, the Winchesters are supposed to die as vampires on December 9th, 2022 by the hands of Bobby. Not Jody, because she was killed off by Vampire Dean, but Jody managed to shoot Vampire Sam. Bobby beheaded him, and it's implied that Bobby killed Vampire Dean as well. Although it could be argued that Vampire Dean probably killed Bobby too. Like, you know, it's like one or the other. We didn't see that. We just saw Sam's death. And that's why his clock stopped, because he's the one controlling it. He can't go any further than that. So that was a huge shock right there, because I never thought in a million years that the end for the brothers would be them turning into creatures and becoming the thing that they hunt, and then that's why they had to be killed. I always thought that they would go out being hunters. Like, if they had to fight the good fight and go out that way, I thought it would be because they were hunters trying to do the right thing, not that they were on the opposite side. So that was a huge surprise for me. The fact that it was in 2022, so that's only 2 years away. So it's just like, wow, it's like so much coming off from that. But let's get right into familiar faces. Again, Eileen, she's been in the last few episodes. Then we do see Jody and Bobby, but they're only in those future visions that Chuck was showing Sam. So there's that. And then also Billy and Jack, we get to see them in the very last scene with their return since the season finale in season 14. So there's that. So let's move on to top 3 favorite moments, because I really want to talk about this. And I really have questions about it too as well. So a favorite that I did have, despite my reservations on whether or not I believe them or not, is these future visions that we are seeing from Chuck. So Chuck is telling Sam that he's not manipulating him. This is the future that is going to happen if they manage to trap Chuck or kill Chuck, or however, whatever they plan. If they manage to succeed, these visions are what is their future. Not only for them, but of the world without God type of thing. So, one, and he claims that he's not lying, he's not manipulating because he's just the messenger. One, he could just be saying that to mess with us. So that's why I don't know if I truly trust him. And then 2 is also the fact that even Sam takes note of the fact that, like, oh, you're just showing me this so that I would lose hope and give in to you more. And then that's when he argues, like, no, this is what's going to happen. I'm just the messenger. I'm not making this thing up. So at least Sam was kind of reluctant to believe what he was seeing. So I'm going to be there. And because I can't trust what Chuck says, why would I after all this time? Like, if we didn't find out he was evil and trying to, like, destroy everything, then, like, okay. But yeah, so that's why I'm still on the fence about whether or not these visions were true or not, or if he was just manipulating them in the situation, especially after we found out what he was doing with Eileen and how he led her back to the Winchesters. But anyways, so we do get to see April 17th, 2020, which is when we get the call from Jody about Claire's death. We get January 6th, 2021, when we find out that Cass isn't with Sam and Dean anymore, only to find out in November 3rd, 2021, that Dean has given up completely, since he's pretty much lost everybody he ever cared for. He mentioned that Cass had to be locked up in the Malak box because the Mark of Cain drove him crazy. We found out that Eileen was gone, Donna and the girls were gone. Bobby has like a death wish. Jody's pretty much the same thing. And Dean's the fight's over. They're losing. Dean wants to put it hang it up pretty much. And then we get a second one of the same day where Sam wants to hunt down the nest. Not sure if it's the same nest that killed Claire, but Sam is determined to go do that. Dean, not wanting Sam to go alone, goes with him, and God makes the comment about, well, Dean, you should have just stayed with their gut. So this is probably the day where they turned into vampires, because the next one is December 9th, 2022, is when the vampire Winchesters are killed, or at least Vampire Sam is killed, because his ability to turn the time watch any further past that stops because he dies. So it's not really clear if Dean survives that or not, but I'm going to imply that he does not survive that. So with all those different moments, we do find out that despite it seems like the monsters are on the rise and they're winning without God there to really keep things in line. Now, the reason why I don't trust this is the fact that God doesn't interfere in all the crises that happened over the course of humanity. He has rarely intervened. The only time he intervened is when Jack accidentally made the whole world stop lying, and when Amara became a true threat in destroying his creation. Those are the only times he actually came down and helped. Every other time when the apocalypse was happening in season 5, he just sat back and played prophet. I'm still in the impression he didn't have the memories of him still being God, because if he was still God and pretending to be the prophet, that makes him a lot more manipulative than I thought, which changes the scope of things as well. But there's many different things why I don't believe these visions, but then also at the same time, since this episode we see Sam not enact their plan to trap God, it kind of hopefully negates all these visions that just happened. Cass isn't going to take on the Mark of Cain now like he and Dean had originally planned without Sam's input. Hopefully that doesn't lead to everything else that follows. There's the timer. So yeah. Hopefully this is another moment where they can rewrite their destiny or their futures. We'll have to wait and see about that though. But I definitely liked how Sam was able to see it all happen. We got to see 2 Sams in the scene at some point with him watching himself in the future type of thing. So it was very interesting to see what he can learn from this and hopefully what he could avoid, but also at the same time knowing your future is dangerous, because the actions you do to try to prevent it from your future from happening could be the very thing that gets you to that future, if that makes sense. So we have to wait and see and play it by ear like that. So it'll be very interesting. But another favorite thing that I did have was Dean's apology prayer to Castiel. And once again, I gotta say, Jensen Ackles did a fabulous job. I say Dean has some of the best monologues ever on this show, and they always bring me to tears. Like, they always have me welling up with emotion, and you can see it on his face just how much not only the apology means to him, but how much of the realization of, like, this is something I should have done already, and it's more of like a regret of, like, I can't believe I've let this gone too far type of thing. But it's just like in that moment, you could, like, that moment when he was doing the prayer did remind me immediately of his monologue to Mary back in season 12 when he was in her head trying to break her out of the British Men and Letters trance. Like, it had me back in that emotional space. So it was a phenomenal job. I definitely was not expecting it to happen when it did, but when it did, it just felt like it was about time. This is something that needed to be done. He and Cass needed to be back on the same page again. They had to be working. They could not be divided anymore. So I love how that happened. Fabulous job by Jensen, for sure, 100%. I really gotta go find that scene again and just watch it. But there's that. Another favorite I did talk about already. And it was the fact that Dean told Chuck to just go back to Earth 2. Like, just that whole confrontation and that Dean wasn't backing down. Very different from the Dean we saw in the future, where he was resigned to the fact that it's time to throw in the towel. We can't fight this. What we're doing isn't actually hunting. We're just playing whack-a-mole with these monsters. We're not saving anybody. So to see Dean just being confrontational and defiant against Chuck and telling him pretty much to go fuck off and go back to Earth 2 type of thing was just awesome. And also you get the whole height difference thing, just adds to the intimidation factor when it's really God that should be the intimidating one. So that's just something right there that I found very appealing as well. So that was a favorite there. And then another favorite I had was just Sam having the chance to kiss Eileen, and when she was questioned whether or not that, I don't know what was real anymore, which I get, which is really upsetting, but then to have him kiss her and say, like, well, that was real. I know that what we had or what we have is real, and not writing off like, no, he didn't manufacture this. He's not the one that made this happen between us. We felt this happening for ourselves type of thing. So I really like that they had that little moment. And I just hope that that doesn't mean that she's going to die, because as we know, Sam's history with with the girls that he's with is not pretty whatsoever. So I hope Eileen can kind of bypass that, since she's already died already. But it was just great to see some kind of payoff for the building tension that was happening between them. But it leads into one of my peeves, and that was the fact that Eileen left. I mean, I still don't get why she left. I mean, like, why would she? I get how she's questioning whether that, like, she knows whether things are real or not around her, and then maybe she wants to leave just so that she isn't a pawn in Chuck's game against the Winchesters. But at the same time, why are you going out in the world where, like, you're more vulnerable to more of Chuck's influences? Like, anybody she meets now on the street could be Chuck in disguise, right? As opposed to if she was just in the bunker, at least she knew that the people in the bunker were who they say they were, type of thing. So it just, like, I understand casting wise she might not be available to appear in more episodes, but, like, logically I don't get why she would leave. Like, you know what I mean? But it was just disappointed the fact that that she was leaving just when there was a step forward in the dynamic and relationship between her and Sam. So it just feels like, well, she's leaving. Here's a little something just to confirm that there's something between them, but we're going to leave her and let her go. And then hopefully the next time you see her is not the episode she gets killed off of, because I really want to see them actually be in a relationship and actually trying to do the whole hunting partnership thing. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see about that. And then another peeve that I did have, though, was the fact that Chuck broke their plan to detain him. It was really reminiscent of the fact that Apocalypse Michael melted down the pulsar, the Metal Letters pulsar generator thing that blasted angels out of their vessels that they had planned for him. And so in the last season's mid-season finale, so it's just like, I guess it matches with the fact that mid-season finale they have one plan and this is when it actually fails. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but at the same time it's like they were so close that I actually wanted to see them win, but then it's like, well, what's the rest of the season going to be like? But yeah, so logistically, I don't like the fact that he broke the orb, but then at the same time, it makes sense. So that's something there. But let's move on to random questions very quickly before my throat gives out, because I can't feel it right now. First question: if they cannot kill or detain Chuck, then what other option do they have to stop him? I really don't see what the other option is. Usually if it's lock him up, if that's not the option, you kill them. But then if you can't do either of them, how exactly are you going to stop him? The only way I could think of is, like, either A, you find a way to switch him to the good side. Don't know how you're going to do that. Or the second one is that you replace him so that the power of God is in the hands of somebody else, so then you could actually kill the one who was previously God. The way kind of I can say it is like Vampire Diaries in season 5, where where Bonnie took the place of Amara when she was the anchor of the other side, because Amara was trying to kill herself, and once she died, the other side collapsed. So in order to preserve the other side, Bonnie took her place, and then Amara ended up killing herself, or she ended up dying. So, like, when she died, it didn't affect the other side. So I'm thinking that the only other situation they could do is if they have somebody else take the place of God, and then once that's done and that transfer is complete, then they're able to kill Chuck without any ramifications. Now, I've heard of a lot of theories of how that's what Billy wants Jack to do, to build up his power and take on that role. So I think that's possible, and that could also be the explanation as to why Chuck killed Jack when he did, or why he wanted things to lead down that road, because he could possibly overpower Chuck or God at the end of the day. But then also there's a theory floating around as well that there's a possibility that Chuck isn't really God, and he's just pretending that he is God, and the real God is somewhere out there. So it's kind of like the ultimate trickster move kind of thing, which I kind of would prefer, to find out that Chuck was actually not the real God, and he's actually trying to pretend and screw all this up in hopes of destroying what God created, while God can't defend what he had created. That would have been an interesting twist as well. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch of theories out there. So I'm hoping, but to tie into my original question, if they can't kill him and they can't detain him, then what the hell are they going to do to stop him? Is essentially what my question was. But also in the comments down below, just let me know what theory of the two that I mentioned you think is viable, or what other theories have you seen circling around that maybe I haven't touched upon yet. I would love to hear about those, or at least see links to kind of like clue me in a little bit to see if, like, I'm interested to see which theories do pan out or not by the time the show ends. So that's something there. Another question I did have, though, is the monster apocalypse the new issue outside of the bigger Chuck is the bad guy issue? Because I mean, the monster apocalypse is something that Michael from the Apocalypse World was trying to start in the previous season. So I'm wondering if that's kind of like going to be coming back up and like making its way, or if it's something that's always going to happen if Chuck wasn't in place to keep the order. But then, like I said, he doesn't really interfere with the effects or with the happenings on Earth. So it's like, even if the monsters did come into play, he wouldn't do anything. Like, if you truly wanted to stop the monster apocalypse before it happens, just eliminate all the monsters. Like, if he was God, there's nothing stopping him from doing that, and then you only just have the good and the bad humans to deal with. That's still good enough good and evil dichotomy in the world. You don't need like a supernatural good and a supernatural evil, right? So, yeah. So pretty much, what do you think? What do you think of this monster apocalypse, and do you actually think it's something that would happen if Chuck were to be out of the picture completely? So that, and the last question was, how much are we supposed to believe in this future where Chuck got detained? So the future visions that Sam had or was shown. How much are we actually meant to believe? Sam believes in it, which is what brought his hope down, and which brought on to why he didn't enact the plan that Dean and Cass had orchestrated. But how much of what Chuck revealed are we supposed to actually believe? Like, yeah, I'm a little worried, but I'll leave it at that. But moving on to predictions very quickly, based off the promo for 1510, it looks like the Winchesters are stuck with normal people problems, like going to the dentist, getting rejected credit cards, getting tickets from the car. But we also see Garth as well, so I'm so excited to see his return, which makes the synopsis even better, because as we know, Supernatural has the great tendency of not revealing so much in the synopsis, which I appreciate. So it reads, tagline, you don't know what you have until it's gone, which has me very worried. But it reads, Sam and Dean hit the road to help an old friend, but it appears that their luck may have finally run out, and they are the ones who may be in the need of rescue. I'm thinking maybe something having to do with luck, maybe. Kind of like the rabbit's foot in season 3, episode 3. But I don't know. Maybe a genie? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see about that. But otherwise, that is pretty much it. But what did you guys think of the episode? What did you guys like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about all that. Also, the trailer, I guess, for the next 3 episodes was up. It's titled Drowning. Go check that out. I really want to hear what you guys have to say about that trailer. I gotta say, it amps things up for sure. There's a lot of things that, like, what the hell is going on, and have them in those situations, but I'm excited to see how they do it. It's definitely like they're really gearing up for this final half of the final season. So I really love to hear your comments about all that. And if it sparked any more theories, or confirmed or denied or verified or defied any theories out there, let me know. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I reblog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. I did update the promo, synopsis, and webs clips for the first part of season 15 for Tumblr, but any of the reblogs I haven't gotten to yet, so just be mindful of that. It got to the point when I was updating it one day that I completely forgot about the daily limit post that they have. So it's like, oh, I posted a lot of stuff that day type of thing. But like, I'll get to it. Right now, I just finished my week 2 of my term 2, and I'll have a bunch of my first assignments due week 3. So I'm really boggled right now about timing of everything. So just be patient with me, pretty please. But moving forward, WordPress account, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress, a little more organized, a little more detailed, but still a work in progress. And I do have to update that one still. Should probably do that one next. But yeah, check that out. I do like how that was organized. Originally, it was on Tumblr, but then for some reason it got disconnected. So I just made the new website and had everything featured there. So there's that. Also, live journal entry link is down below. Since season 6, I've been posting jot noted summarized recaps of the episode. Not recaps, but like more like breakdowns of what happened in the episode. Kind of like makeshift transcripts, if you will. Doing it to the very end of the series. It helps me keep things in line, especially if I'm forgetting certain details or certain quotes and stuff. I do make notes like that during my first time of watching the episode as it airs. So you can find all those on LiveJournal. For the newest episodes, they're not listed publicly yet. I have to still format them and color them properly to make it more legible for you all to read, because there's a lot of shorthand formats that I did while I typed those up, because it's while I'm watching the episode that I do it. So just be on the lookout for that though. But the link is down below. Otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. I'll leave it at that. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back next week to see what I have to say about the next episode. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you a great day, great week, wherever you are. Bye for now.